Welcome back to Arise Exchange. Over the weekend, the National Football League faced a new, unexpected visiting team, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, following a class action lawsuit filed by 1,300 former NFL players who are alleging NFL doctors routinely violated federal drug laws. Agents inspected the locker rooms of several NFL teams. At issue, whether league doctors are illegally prescribing drugs to players. Sports editor Mike Bako from thedailynational.com is here with the impact this investigation means for a league already under the microscope. Mike, any surprise here that the DEA took this action?
I think it's surprising the way that it's now being publicized. Normally, you would think that they would kind of do this under the cover of darkness and then make their reporting and their findings. But I think when you're dealing with an NFL team and you see DEA agents, kind of hard not to have that be on everyone's radar.
And was this a raid, or was this, as far as you know, the NFL opening the doors voluntarily?
It was somewhere in between. We had some reporters at MetLife Stadium that saw them milling about, and this was something where they just came and spoke to the 49ers medical staff, trainers, personnel. What they're really looking at right now is, does everything kind of mark off all the check marks? Mm-hmm. Are the physicians giving the shots, the painkillers, the things like that, and not the trainers, not other team personnel? Because that's what a lot of these players, most notably Jim McMahon, are alleging, that over the course of their career that they were just willy-nilly handed out pills and they didn't really even know what they were taking or who they were taking them from.
Do we know whether the agents actually went into the lockers of players?
We don't know whether they went into the lockers of the players. What they were really focusing on were team personnel, because that's where the lawsuit is against, and that's who they are investigating, because it's not the players that they're investigating, whether they have illegal contraband.
It's the doctors.
It's the doctors, it's the team officials.
And so in this lawsuit that these 1,300, and that's a lot of players, by the way, are saying that they were, illegally prescribed drugs, illegally given drugs? What is the accusation?
Basically, all of the above. Illegally given drugs that they were not told what they were from, bottles that were unmarked, basically other team personnel giving them medicines, prescriptions that they didn't really know what they were. Now, granted, there should be some onus on the players to ask, what are you giving me, how much are you giving me, and knowing how much of an intake you're doing.
So is there an accusation here that these doctors are Dr. Feelgoods, basically, that you got hurt and we gave you some drugs to pop?
It's the culture of the NFL. Yeah. Players are playing on non-guaranteed contracts. Players want those millions, want that playing time to get those millions. So if it takes taking a couple years off their life, taking a couple years off of their career so they could get those contracts, so they could get those signing bonuses to set themselves up for the rest of their life. But you look at a guy like Jim McMahon, who, if you remember from the 80s, probably the most flamboyant, from a wordsmith standpoint, one of the great interviews, and now the guy can barely leave his house in Arizona without wearing glasses. He forgets where he is. He forgets who he is. That's not the image that the NFL wants out there.
Yes. So how is the NFL responding to this, quote, investigation?
Well, as with anything that comes out of Roger Goodell's mouth, it's a little bit of lip service, but they are saying that they are complying, that they do want to get to the bottom of this, that they do have their players' best interest at heart.
Do you think the NFL needs to say at some point, hey, we were wrong and did some bad things in the past, but now we're going to clean up our act, from concussions to drugs to all of these things? Because if they keep saying, and they keep churning out information saying, no, we didn't do this, or it was a case here, no one's going to buy that.
People are buying it, though, because people are continuing to watch the games. Ratings are high. But the NFL did do that with concussions, and they did do that with player injuries to the tune of $750 million. But that's just a drop in the bucket. So even though they are, in a way, accepting responsibility, not declaring guilt, but it's really just a drop in the bucket.
I don't know how you grab all the fans and say, if you're really outraged, stop watching.
Well, you listen to a guy like Malcolm Gladwell, who's basically saying that it's an abomination that the NFL is even in existence anymore. You think about who will be playing in the NFL, who will be playing football 10, 15 years from now. Will it just become a gladiator sport of people that don't really care about their health? It may become like an MMA where you want people to get hurt on the field. I think that's where some people think that we're going with the NFL. But when you still have guys like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
You have phenomenal athletes.
You have phenomenal
and maybe that's what they need. What happened, maybe the hockey model. whereby the poor athletes who are known as sort of the enforcers were eventually weaned out of the league. And maybe that's the model the NFL has to look at, is a better game from an athletic standpoint with less violence.
I don't know if that's possible. Bigger, faster, stronger guys. You look at a guy like Rob Gronkowski, he's a tight end. I mean, we've not seen the likes of some of these athletes anywhere. And when you get those guys hitting each other, all bets are off.
All right, Mike, we're going to have you on as this investigation, no doubt, will keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Bako. Time now for our business ticker stories making headlines across the nation and the world. The Bernie Madoff recoveries will now top $10 billion. The New York trustee recovering money